everyone, Adam here, So Wizard Podcast. I have another interview for you today. I got to sit down with George Michail, another indie comic creator. Love talking indie comic creators for obvious reasons. But anyone who's pursuing a passion project, that's why I love talking to the indie film creators, indie comic creators. I mean, I've even talked to musicians on here, people who do sound mixing. It's just cool to see people chasing their passions in life. Anyway, George Michail's comic, Cover of Darkness, is coming together in a collection in an awesome hardcover on Kickstarter. The pre-launch link is in the description, so make sure you check it out. The story sounds cool. The artwork is great. It's a wholly original thing. It's a fantasy take on the Universal monsters in a like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones type epic tale. So very cool, very original, really great conversation. Check it out. Hey everyone, Adam here, So Wizard Podcast. I'm sitting down with George Michail to talk his new hardcover, Cover of Darkness, that's coming soon to Kickstarter. How you doing, George?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for having me, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This should be cool. Always cool to talk to comic creators. So I guess just to start at the beginning, do you want to kind of give the elevator pitch of Cover of Darkness?
Yeah, absolutely. Cover of Darkness is like Game of Thrones meets Universal Monsters. It's about a family in medieval Romania that gets separated from each other, and they encounter vampires, werewolves, the mummy, creature from the Black Lagoon, and a steampunk Atlantean Frankenstein. It's about the family's journey back to each other, and within that family, there's twin shapeshifters. So you get like these epic battles against like gorillas against werewolves. It's nuts.
That sounds pretty cool, and I always like when people find interesting uses for the Universal monsters.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up with those characters and I love them, and so wanted to kind of do my own thing with them.
Yeah, I feel like they're still very viable. You just have to be creative like you and think outside the box and not just do the standard thing and try to modernize it with CG or whatever.
Yeah, so like our werewolves are Vikings in the book. And
that's awesome. That's a great combination.
Yeah, right? It feels right. And our Frankenstein story takes place on the island of Atlantis, and he's resurrected by his widow, Dr. Mary Frankenstein. And the same restorative properties that brought him back to life will reanimate the dead. So he's like the very first zombie.
So also now when people say Frankenstein, you don't have to do the thing or you correct them where no, it's Frankenstein's monster because it's one and the same.
Yes, exactly.
That's a nice little tying up a loophole.
Yeah.
So this is your creation, like solely out of your head? Because I know there's a few people listed on the cover.
Right. So I write this with Chris Cam, and the two of us are cousins. We grew up together, and then our artist, his name is MJ Hiblin. He's based out of the UK. He does everything with his finger. He doesn't use a pencil or a stylus. It's all with his finger, and it has like a real kind of gritty, kinetic energy to the work. And then our letterer, her name is Nikki Powers. So that's it. It's kind of a 4-person team.
That's awesome. So the artist does art from concept all the way through, color, everything.
Yes.
Wow, that guy's busy.
Yeah, no, he's a mad genius. It's been a joy to work with him.
That's awesome. And the artist and the letterer, is that a team? Like you and your cousin wrote the story and then you just found a team, or was it people you knew previously?
No, we found MJ actually through Instagram. The guy's got like 250,000 subscribers, and you might be following him already. Yeah, he hadn't really worked a lot in comics beforehand, but I could just tell that he had like a flair for horror, and so I reached out to him, and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I want to be a part of this." He read the script and liked it, and he's like, "Yeah, this is kind of his dream job, working with the classic monsters."
That's awesome. Had you done anything in the comic world before this?
Yeah, I had worked. I had a script that was picked up by, it was like a digital publisher. It was going to be like an app. And so I'd written this comic script called Fire Engine Red, and I submitted it to this company, and they liked it, and they bought the script, and they hired Ali Garza to illustrate it, who worked on Teen Titans and Supergirl, and the book looks amazing. Unfortunately, it looks like that company's gone under, and so it never came out. So this is Cover of Darkness is really like my first like main book to really come out.
It's awesome you stuck with it, because coming so close with such pedigree behind your first comic and then to have it kind of fall apart, that had to just be like deflating and terrible. But the fact that you got another one going with another talented team is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was disappointing that the book didn't come out, but the rights are reverting back to me now, so I want to try and get the book finished and get that one out there as well.
Yeah, now that you have some steam behind this one, maybe that'll kind of help launch the next.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for Cover of Darkness, because I know you have a Kickstarter coming up, and we'll definitely dive more into like the specifics of the Kickstarter. But was it issue by issue first, and now this is a collection, or is this the whole like graphic novel format?
So when we sat down to create Cover of Darkness, Chris and I, we mapped this thing out through like 18 issues and had like this like huge story arc that we wanted to do to tell. And so the first 6 issues is like the first movie in the trilogy. And one thing that's really cool about it is like, I hate when I'm like watching like a horror movie or something and it's like all about the final girl. I'm like, I'm here for the monsters. Like, let's spend some time with them. And sometimes they're like barely in it. So it's our story. Every issue goes back and forth between our family's adventure. They're on a collision course with the monsters and the monsters' origin stories. So half of each book is a standalone horror story that's a good read on its own, but they're all connected to each other. So we mapped this whole thing out, and we didn't start off with a publishing contract. We just started off making this book and writing issue by issue, and then we brought in MJ, and then we started selling it at conventions. And in 2019, I did like 18 shows, like all across North America. I was kind of going like indie rock style, like sleeping in my van sometimes at like truck stops. It was terrible, but I did. I was able to meet the guys at Source Point Press. It's a great team over there. They're a publisher based out of Michigan. They're doing some big things. They're been the official sponsor of like New York Comic Con and of the Fan Expo shows. They put our books on the badges, and like then they really like did some advertising for us in like Previews Magazine every month, and the book is doing pretty well through them. And it was through touring and kind of getting on the road that I was able to meet those guys, and just convention after convention, kind of running into them and like talking with them and going for dinner after a show or something like that. And then they're like, yeah, okay, let's put this book out. And it's doing well for them.
That's awesome. It's funny because the last interview I did was also for a comic creator, also with Source Point Press. So it feels like they're getting out in the world, because I'm hearing from them more and more, which is great. And yeah, I've heard they're making big moves. Like now they have a deal with like a horror company and with Global Comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they signed last year with Simon and Schuster, so their books are like in Barnes and Nobles now, and not just in comic book stores. So they're doing some cool things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And from all accounts I've heard, you and the last person I talked to, and multiple other people, even just people I ran into at cons casually, never heard a bad word about them. So that's great to hear that it's a publisher like for the creator.
Yeah, no, they've been great, and like they've paid the royalties for the book, and they've put advertising out into it, and they're helping me with this Kickstarter too, which is it's a hardcover, and then we're also doing a card game with it as well. And so I had developed the card game, but like they're doing some graphic design for me, like designing the game box, and like they also have a board game division as well. So it's cool that like they're able to help me with this too.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't realize they had so much like ancillary stuff to go with the story. That's great. So for the Kickstarter, the issues, you had your huge storyline, so now it's coming together in a hardcover, which is awesome. Hardcover comics are always great. It feels like a collector's piece. What are your I guess not your goals, I'm not worried about the finances of, but like what are your like tiers?
Right, so we're keeping it like really simple, like lean and mean. We've got 4 tiers. We have a digital version of, if you want to just get all 6 issues. We have the hardcover, we have the game, and then we have like the 4th bundle is where you get everything. So you get the hardcover, the game, and the digital all together.
Yeah, nice and simple, streamlined.
Yeah, and the game is pretty fun. So I made this with like my 9-year-old daughter, and we reversed engineered. There's like this old card game called Golf where you have to like lay down like your cards on the table in like a 3x2 grid, and you have to remember you only get to look one time at like the bottom row, and you have to try and make pairs. And it's a great game for like if you're having a party or you're kind of hanging out and visiting with people, because you can still carry on a conversation while you're playing, and you can screw yourself up by like forgetting what cards you have or forgetting where they are exactly, because you want to try and make those pairs as you draw them. And then what we've done is in golf you have to try and get the smallest scores possible, and if you make a pair you get like it goes down to 0. We've flipped it so you're trying to get the highest score possible, and if you get a pair or 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind, you get more points. But then we've also added in like special cards, like we have a Gravedigger card, so you can dig through the discard pile and grab a card, or we have a Goblin card where you can steal a card from someone else. So we just kind of spiced it up a bit, but it's a fun game that's like simple, but like it's really cool. And it only takes like 10 to 15 minutes to play. So you usually end up playing it like 3-4 rounds, just kind of hang out, and it's been fun.
Did you have the idea like, oh, I want to reverse engineer golf and I can use my monsters to do it? Or did like maybe SourcePoint come to you and say, hey, you should do a card game with this? That would look cool.
No, that was my idea. This golf game, I actually just learned it like 2 years ago, and I just found like whenever we're having friends over, like we'd have some drinks and end up playing this game. I'm like, this game is fun, and it's like, but it's also pretty simple, so we kind of tried to spice it up. And then it's like, and we did the cards like tarot card size with all like the cool monster art on it.
So, yeah, you definitely want to blow that up a bit.
Yeah, so it's pretty dope. We've been playtesting it for like a year, just with friends and stuff like that, and I can't wait for it to get out there. And SourcePoint's gonna really just make it look like professional and like a proper game. So it's kind of cool. It's coming together.
That is really cool, and it was smart to do one that even if you don't know golf, it sounds like a game that we could sit down, you could explain it to me in 10 minutes, and we're playing. Because a lot of these collectible card games, I feel like the rule sets are just like daunting, and there's such a barrier to entry for them.
Yeah, no, it's pretty simple. Like my 9-year-old co-created it with me. So,
that's cool. That's also a fun project to do with your kid, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was fun, and we were just doing it with like cue cards and just like writing out like each card, like what they did, and we would just play it like that, and then we got it printed with the art and had like a demo version like that. It's been fun.
That's awesome. So when does the Kickstarter? I know there's a preview page. People should check the comments, the show notes, whatever, for the link. But when does the Kickstarter go live, and how long is it running for?
It goes live October 18th, and it runs until November 8th. But you can click the link in the description of the video and get signed up to be notified for when it does launch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a nice thing Kickstarter does with the preview page.
Yeah, totally. And it kind of helps you like get out the gate with some momentum, instead of, hopefully people see you on social media, but this is like, you're ready to run.
Yeah. And my understanding is that if people are interested before, it also helps you get to one of the Kickstarter's like preferred projects or whatever they call it. So you kind of get a little boost from that too, which is, with SourcePoint behind you, is probably helpful also.
Yeah, that'd be nice to get on one of those like projects we love sort of things. I've done a few Kickstarters and never made it into like that where you're on the front page. I'm like, oh,
that's a rough world. That is a rough world.
Kickstarters are tough because it's like it's not enough to just like post about it. You also have to like just hit up people individually, and it's like, hey, remember when I made that like mixtape for you in high school? Like, do you want to back my book?
Yeah, like, you really just have to straight up ask, be like, hey, throw money at this.
Yeah. That's cool. I'm pretty psyched though. Like, we're keeping the prices like super reasonable, so it's like the same price you'd pay in a store for any of the stuff. So it's not like you're having to pay like a exorbitant amount to back this thing. Like, and it's like, and it's guaranteed to like fulfill, because like the books are made, they've come out in stores, they got great reviews, and now it's time to do the hardcover.
That's what I was going to say is a project like yours is especially nice to back because it's not like this is a cool concept. I'm going to give it money and hope that I receive it in 2 years. It's done. It's there. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of changing the format and stuff to get into the hardcover, I'm sure, but like the 90% of the work is done.
Yeah, and we've got some cool stuff that we're hoping to put into the book too. They're listed as stretch rewards, but we want to like do we have like a whole bunch of extra covers, and we want to put those as like pinups in the back. And then we have like lots of cool like monster concept art, and even like versions of the characters that we didn't go with. So we have like a section of concept art that we're going to add into the book as well.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I always like those extra things too in a Kickstarter project. Like I've backed a couple of Kickstarters like, oh, this comic sounds good. I want to get the comic. And you get the comic and it's like stuff just keeps coming. Like you said, with the pinups and concept art and your card game. And it's like, you feel like you get so much for it. And it's really cool. It's a nice concept, like a pre-order system more than a fund this system.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, like I've backed lots of Kickstarters and it seems like you only get your books like 60% of the time, but this one is going to fulfill, like, definitely.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, I haven't backed too many, but I do feel like that has gotten a little bit better. Where in the, like maybe the earlier days of Kickstarter, a lot of people were just like fund my hopes and dreams, but now it's more like fund my actual work.
Well, the thing about that is like, you only get one kick at the can, right? Like if you do a Kickstarter and you don't fulfill it, well, no one else, you're not going to be able to do a second Kickstarter really, because people aren't going to come back and support you again.
Right. Yeah. If you didn't have enough interest the first time, you have to do something drastically different the second. Was Kickstarter the platform specifically your choice? Because I know there's like Indiegogo where you can have it partially funded and still fulfill. I mean, Kickstarter's kind of the name. It's almost like, Kleenex with tissues, but.
Yeah, no, Kickstarter was what I was interested in doing. I know SourcePoint Press is doing a lot of work with BackerKit. BackerKit has launched their own crowdfunding website as well. So most of their campaigns are through BackerKit. But I've already done a few Kickstarters before, so I wanted to stay with that platform.
Yeah, I guess once you're already familiar with it, because it's so daunting, you want to just focus in one area and just get better every time.
Yeah, no.
So your story, your overall thing, I mean, it sounds like you have a sprawling epic of a comic already. I don't want you to give away the ending, obviously, for people who haven't read it, but is it one that leaves room to more Cover of Darkness, and would you be interested in that?
Yeah, so we've already got these like done. So the up next for Cover of Darkness is on November 23rd. We have Cover of Darkness Origins, which is a one-shot. So just a single issue that'll be coming out into comic book stores. And it has like 3 monster origin stories in it. It has the origin story of like our older vampire. Because in the main Cover of Darkness series, you follow the younger kind of apprentice vampire. But so we're going back to his mentor. And he's like this elf riding a dragon, protecting the elf kingdom. And he's got like a sick niece, and he needs to try and save her. And there's no cure for her in like the libraries of the elf kingdom. So he has to look for different options, and it doesn't go well. And then we also have another story where we tell the origin of our Bride of Frankenstein, who in our version is Mary Frankenstein, the most brilliant inventor in all of Atlantis. And then the third story in that one shot is ninjas versus kaiju. So that's pretty fun. So we're doing those. And then we have 3 one-shots coming out over the next like 6 months that'll tell origin stories of some of the supporting characters in our world. And we're working with like some huge talents on there. Rags Morales from like Identity Crisis and Action Comics is doing a short story for us. Andy Belanger from Swamp Thing. Nat Jones, who worked on Spawn, is going to do a short story for us. Wow. So we're psyched to be having these one shots. And then the follow-up series is called Cover of Darkness Hell Tournament. And that comes out like in a year from now.
Okay. So you've already been busy on this stuff.
Yeah. We started working on this 4 years ago. So we have like 15 issues like done right now. So we're on the home stretch of getting this thing finished up.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I'm always nervous. Like, do I ask what's coming next? Because for some creators I talk to, it's like they just finished the thing. You know how hard it is to get anything done. So I'm like, do I want to ask what's next? Because they're like, I just did this. Is that not enough? But you're leagues ahead. So
Yeah, no, Cover of Darkness has been a blast, and like I said, we've been working on it for a long time now. So now we're so far ahead of the publisher that we're waiting for it to catch up. And there was like a delay on getting it released because of COVID and stuff, right? So
yeah, I've been hearing
um,
that from everybody. I'm feeling that.
another project I'm working on is I just got a grant for a documentary. It's called Nerds on the Run, and I'm working on it with an author named Andrew Buckley. And we're visiting kind of different like nerdy locations and learning about like how like geek pop culture stuff gets made. So we were just in Hope, BC for the 40th anniversary of First Blood, the first Rambo movie. And we were filming there, and they had like a tank like running over a bunch of cars, and there's some of the actors from the movie were there, and we went up in a helicopter. It's pretty cool. So that's been like a fun kind of side project that I'm working on as well.
So the locations you're looking at for that are kind of like filming locations, or maybe like a first monumental comic, like Golden Apple's first location, things like that? Or is it like you're going to go to the Funko Pop headquarters, or is it kind of all of the above?
All of the above. So we're also going to like an animation studio and talking to them about how to make animation. We're going to Hatley Castle, the filming location of the X-Men films.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to go to like Xavier's mansion.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty surreal.
Yeah, and we're hoping to do EA Sports. Their location is here, and Vancouver Film School as well. So we want to tour.
Oh yeah, being in Vancouver, you have access to kind of a lot, like a shocking amount of stuff.
Yeah, I think Vancouver is like the second busiest film hub in North America after Los Angeles. So we have a lot of things here.
Yeah, I couldn't even put that together when you first told me where you were from. But yeah, you have that, and I think there's a lot of video game studios too.
Yeah. So I'm psyched. I've had this idea in my mind for a long time of like making a documentary like this, and getting this like grant. It's from like a cable television provider up here in Canada. It's called TELUS, and we filed an application, and they gave it to us. So that's another project I'm working on right now.
That's awesome. Do you have any kind of film background, or you just kind of figure it out as you go?
No, I got nothing. I've seen a lot of movies.
Yeah, there you go.
My partner on this, he's been to film school, and he's made some things before. But it was kind of like my idea with his experience, and we put it together, and we're making something happen.
Perfect. That's cool. And that's already underway.
Yeah, we just started actually just this past weekend. Was our first day shooting.
Oh, awesome. So you're busy. I mean, starting something like that right before a Kickstarter is almost a full-time job in itself. So you're
Yeah, no, it is. It's a lot of work with these Kickstarters, and like just trying to get the word out, right? Because it's like that's your reach is only so far, so you need to kind of try and do whatever you can to try and let people know about it.
Yeah. Well, it's smart you're doing it ahead of time, because I've done one and we're like, okay, we got it already. That was hard enough. Let's launch. Now let's get the word out. But it's like, no, you're already a month behind. If you launch, then you're getting the word out, you're done.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's really challenging just to get it out there, and the goal is to like, this is my fourth Kickstarter, and just to get to expand your reach, so it's not just your friends and family anymore, and it's more people that are interested in your work.
Yeah, you got to find new readers, new fans.
Yeah, and that's another thing is like, because we've been doing this for so many years, a lot of people already have these books, so it's like we have to get even beyond those people that we've met before.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, and that's something that a lot of newer creators are running into from people that I've talked to and experienced myself, is that you can only hit up the same people. So it's like, I appreciate the support, but
Yeah, absolutely.
well, I do appreciate you taking the time to come on. It sounds like a really cool project. Do you want to just kind of give everybody the lowdown one more time, where they can find Cover of Darkness? The Kickstarter's on the 18th. Kind of just give them the spiel one more time.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cover of Darkness, it's a shared universe of horror characters. We've got reimagined versions of vampires, werewolves, the mummy, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Frankenstein. It's all set in a medieval world. And it's also a mixture of horror and fantasy, because it's kind of like, Lord of the Rings meets those classic monsters. So we also have like goblins and orcs and dragons in our world as well. Um, the Kickstarter launches October 18th for the hardcover and for the card game. And if you go on Kickstarter and type in Cover of Darkness after October 18th, it should definitely come up. And there should be a link in the description of this video if you want to click on that too.
Very cool. Well, George, once again, thank you. And hold on to her name because you have a lot of things in the hopper, so we could do this again sometime.
That'd be amazing. Thanks so much, Adam.
All right. Have a good one. I'd like to thank George one more time for coming on the show to talk to us about Cover of Darkness. His new hardcover is coming on Kickstarter through SourcePoint Press. Check out the link in the description. Please make sure you like and subscribe. We have a lot more interviews, comic covers, new movie coverage, indie movie coverage, all the cool stuff you love coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. Speaking of not want to miss out, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Wizard can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows. We love hearing feedback, so drop some in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series. It's called Social Studies. It's a slice of life, coming-of-age story, written like a sitcom and done through the prism of the 90s cartoons that we grew up on, we love, and inspired us. You can find all of the issues available now, more coming soon at socialstudiescomic.com or on Comixology. We're working on getting onto global comics. We're going to be everywhere. And speaking of being everywhere, I will be at Bing Comic Con in Springfield, Massachusetts in just a couple weeks. It is on the 29th of October. Come and check it out. $5 to get in. All for indie creators, and I will be there with So Wizard's own Marky Mark. He's got his own stuff going on at the table. We'll be hanging out all day. Come and see us there. And So Wizard Podcast is also going to be at Rhode Island Comic Con just a couple weeks after that. I believe November 6th in Rhode Island, the biggest con in the smallest state. You'll be able to find it. Thanks.